started. So as you know, I also publish the Gazette, so I take every opportunity to uh, promote it. And if you haven't looked at it, it's up on the Groups.io page. Uh, and I'll also be publishing this presentation as a PDF, and I have links embedded in the PDF, so you can just go ahead and click on it, so you don't have to wonder where it is. That was it. So, and earlier, late last month, we were over at the Plasma Center, PPPL, Princeton Plasma Physics Laboratory, and there was a sign over the over their counter there, and so I thought that was, yeah. You could buy a hat, you could buy a glove, and you could buy a neutron. They weren't charging for neutrons. Anyway, so on to the main topic is, what are you going to see this sky? Now we're only 5 days into it, so I'll kind of gloss over a few of them. But tomorrow, the moon and M45 are going to get pretty close to each other, 31 and a half arc minutes from each other, and the moon will be 8 days old. Also, the moon and Jupiter on the 9th is going to make about 5 degrees within each other. The 12th, there's an asteroid that you might want to take a look at, and I'll go into a little more detail on some of these later on. And at the end of the month, on the 25th, Mercury and Saturn will share the same right ascension, passing within a degree, almost a degree and a half of each other, to the north of Saturn. So it's going to be really only visible towards sunset. So like 30 minutes after the sun goes down, you might be able to catch it if you have a clear view to the horizon. Again, these are past lunar events, so we can skip those. We have some more lunar events. I like, the moon's always a fun thing to look at, and when it's interesting, more interesting when it's next to something that's also interesting. So tonight, if it stays clear, you'll be able to see the moon near Uranus, obviously through a telescope. The moon is going to be near the Pleiades again on the 6th, and in parts of the world, it will actually occult. Parts of Pleiades not around here, it's going to be too far. The 9th, there is another occultation of Mars, but again, not around here, but if you are in Russia or China or East Canada, you'll be able to see it. And on the 12th, we have a full moon. And here's a little chart of the occultation of the Pleiades. So you can see it just ends a little bit before it gets to us, but should make some interesting pictures if you wanted to get out there and try to do that. It's always fun.
I think we have some new people here. Could you explain that chart to them? Because
Sure.
people never.
So as the moon obviously being a lot closer to the Earth than the Pleiades, as it's orbiting, it will pass in front of objects from time to time that we consider of note. It's always passing in front of something, but usually we don't really have 2 cents about. But the Pleiades are always very nice to look at through a pair of binoculars. And on the 6th, in parts of the world, the sections through here where it begins and ends, this will cover some or all of the stars of the Pleiades, and the moon will be too far away by the time it gets to us. So we'll see the moon coming very close to them. If you were out the other night, we were at over at Thuster, I mean, it was an amazingly clear night. Usually I look at the Pleiades and I just see a kind of a amorphous blob of stars. I was actually visually looking at individual stars in the Pleiades. The sky was that clear. Like you said, it was very cold, but I had my electric socks, so I was good for a while. But yeah, it was, and Orion was a whole constellation. It was like jewels hanging in the sky. I haven't been that clear out there in quite a long time. So again, I'm not going to go into all the things, but it lists here all the different stars in the in the Pleiades that it'll occult, but I don't know. So again, on the 9th, the moon is going to be near Mars, as you can see. from us. We're just outside. We're down over this way. And the occultation, if we were from last month, was pretty amazing. You see the Mars disappearing behind the moon and then reappearing a little bit later. And if you look at it, I highlighted all the pictures that people took of that in the magazine. And again, I've added links to any of this information, so you can just go ahead and again, when the PDF goes up on the Groups IO, you can examine all that for yourself. Okay, again, more lunar events. Reiterating, the moon is going to be near Uranus on the 6th, the Pleiades, Mars, and again, on the 12th, it was going to have a full moon. I think I duplicated that slide, sorry. Okay, on the 17th, the moon is near Spica, a very bright star. So again, it's going to be, Spica is again 1.2 magnitude star. Usually that's one of the brighter stars, easy to observe. And again, it's going to be, do I have down here how close? It'll be 18 arc seconds apart. So that's going to be pretty close to each other. So that might be a nice chance to try to get a photograph of that, Ken. I don't know. You might want to try, see what you can do. I think that might be, without blowing out the moon, be a challenge for you.
Steve, can I interrupt for a second? I think that
Please.
that the moon near Spica, that's pretty much for early morning risers. Because I know Spica is just coming, is in the morning sky at that time. But
Yes, I see. Yes, it says 12 GMT, so it would be 5 hours earlier. So that would, no, for 12, it's 12, what is,
5 hours before, 4 hours.
are we 4 hours now? No, we're back to 5.
5 now.
We're back to 5 hours. Yeah. No, 12 GMT is noon.
Yeah.
GMT, so it would be
7.
so it might,
The sun's gonna be out.
the sun's going to be up. Well, the sun's, you might catch it. Well, you might get it a little bit. I mean, that's at its closest approach, but
Yeah.
it's going to be
yeah,
visible.
well, with conjunctions, you don't really need exact. I mean,
Right.
2 hours before the conjunction, they're still pretty close.
Correct.
It's not
It's
like
just
an
giving you the,
occultation where okay, the thing's gone, it has to be gone at this time. I mean, practically, the whole time that Spica and the moon are up, they'll be close together.
correct. You are correct. Okay, let's go on.
And also, Steve,
Yes.
that moon near Saturn, it's the new moon. Trying to look through binoculars at that just means you're gonna burn your eyes. Right?
Well, it's going to be 0.6 illuminated.
Right.
So it's going to be,
It's
well, you're not burn your eyes.
it's
Well, it's going to be a crescent. It's going to be very thin.
it's new moon.
Right.
Trying to look for the new moon with binoculars is risky. If someone's not experienced.
Okay. I just copied and pasted that. I take no, the Earth Sky can, I'm sorry, Star Walks, that space takes responsibility for looking at things through binoculars. So, last year we had a whole bunch of full supermoons, and I found we also have a whole bunch of new supermoons for 2025. Obviously, the new supermoons are not going to be visible, but just I put them up there for just for show. Now you might think, what is the case of what's the chance of constantly having supermoons? Well, it was coined actually by an astrologer, Richard Knoll, in 1979. So according to Knoll's definition, a full moon or new moon is a supermoon when it's also within 90% of its closest point to Earth. However, different websites calculate it differently. Earth sky uses supermoon as determined by astronomer Frank Planck, Spenek, best known for his time at Goddard Space Flight Center, where he became world expert on eclipse predictions. His method of calculating supermoons takes into account changes in the moon's orbit during each lunar cycle. So supermoons, are they brighter? Yes, they are. Ordinarily, a moon is, and it's usually a noticeable amount brighter. That's because the supermoon exceeds the disk size of an average sized moon by about 8%, and the brightness of an average sized moon by about 15%. And then it exceeds the disk of a micromoon, or the most distant moon from the Earth, by up to 14%, and a brightness of more than 30%. So a micromoon and a new moon, a supermoon, are very much easy. You can tell the difference of them very easily. For visual reference, says here, the difference between a supermoon and a micromoon is proportionally similar to that of a US quarter and a nickel. And the difference isn't that noticeable to the eye, but the brightness difference is quite noticeable. And just as a point of reference, they used to be called perigean full moons and perigean new moons, but I think everybody's just not used to saying supermoons now. And you don't agree? Bush has took offense at my statement then. So there's a little video from NASA. I like that. So again, just to finish this off, you might think that there shouldn't be so many supermoons, but if you take in two factors in the formulas I'll go over, you have the synodic months and anomalistic months. So according to the proximity of full moon to perigee is not that rare. The very closest full moons within a few hours of perigee recur with a cycle of 14 synodic months, because 14 synodic months nearly equals 15 on an boy, let me make these words simpler. Anomalistic months. So when you average out the number of days, it actually seems to occur almost on the same day. And that's why last year we had 4, and on average we have at least 3. We tend to have 3 supermoons in a year, and possibly 4, depending on the number of months in the year.
Steve,
Yes.
explain a little greater what synodic and animalistic months are.
No.
Honest answer.
I guess no, somebody here can explain that. Looks like John wants to say something.
Oh, no.
Well, see that I've given you homework. You can go look that up. Anyway, I just thought it was curious. Whoops, and everybody at home just kind of.
Yeah. The guy who explained it is not here this week. That's Sam.
Right.
All right, hold on. Let me get this. How's that looking at home now? Nope, that
Yes,
didn't work.
looks good. Yeah, looks very good.
Looked very good the last time. Hold on. Jesus. Huh. It's not gonna stay. Really? Move this over a little, give it a little more footing. Did I lose? All right, guys, I think we're gonna have to disconnect.
Is the cycle of new moon to new moon, and non-holistic is paired to paired.
Thank you. So synodic is the cycle of new moon to new moon, and anomalistic is perigee to perigee. That was okay. Wait. All right, are we back up there? I can't see the camera. Let me see if I can. We are disconnected.
It's working
Okay.
now.
All right. Let's go back to what we were doing. Sorry about that, guys. All right. So continuing on. Okay, so on the 3rd, Venus passed just north of Neptune. I'm saying, why am I showing you that now? Because if we go ahead and just take a look, that's how much it's moved in the last couple of days. So if we want to, again, if you're looking to find out where Neptune is, and you can go ahead and look for Venus and then kind of pan down, and you should be able to find Neptune. I saw it the other day through my Celestron 8-inch, and it was really nice looking, nice blue scope. It's entered now into Pisces after having been in Aquarius for the last 12 years. It's only 0.1 magnitude brighter, but become observable in the glare by the end of February. So last chance to see it for a little bit. A couple of more deep sky objects. Bode's Galaxy is always a nice one to look at and photograph. You could say it's giving you the magnitude and the right ascension and declination. And Beehive Cluster is also one I like looking at through binoculars and through the scope. That's always a nice one to look at. So you might have heard this little thing about this big news about planetary alignments. So I'm going to spend a little time covering that. And all these slides are from earthsky.org. And I've kind of stuck them together. So under the early skies, like we're looking here, there will be the 4 planets, 4 bright planets in the evening sky. Saturn will be between Venus and the horizon, and high overhead is Jupiter. And then for most of the night, you'll be able to see Mars. Later in the mid-months, around the 14th, again, the 4 bright planets are still going to be in the sky. Saturn's still going to be a little lower in the horizon. Jupiter is high overhead. And again, we have Mars trailing up the rear. Now, obviously, you can also see, these are just, again, visual observing, not without using a telescope. You'll be able to see these. And as we get to late February, little down to 3 bright planets, because high overhead is going to be Jupiter. We'll have Mars. And if you're lucky, towards the end of the month, about the 24th, you look about 20 or 30 minutes after sunset, you might be able to catch Saturn, and Mercury has now reappeared and has become an evening star. But that's going to be very low to the horizon, so you should head out to the beach or someplace, and hopefully you'll be able to catch it. Again, all those should be visible to the naked eye. And one more thing, Orion, and if you go every night, that's probably the most popular constellation that's out there. It's easiest and to find, especially the belt of Orion, Betelgeuse, make it very easy to find. And here it is again. And the picture is the picture I took. I have another EAA camera called the Dwarf 3. And one of the features it now has is wide angle after photography. So again, I brought it out the cluster and I took 75 15-second subs at a gain of 70. And that's pretty much stacked out of the camera. Minor tweaking just to darken it up a little bit, but amazing. You can see the whole of, well, almost the whole of the Orion constellation, and right there, obviously the Orion Nebula is very prominent. So I thought that was an interesting. Since the Milky Way wasn't up at the time, I thought, if you're going to image something, that's probably going to be the most recognizable. Obviously, and it kind of imaged the stars I don't know if there were that many stars visible to us, but there were quite a few more stars. Orion was not as easy to identify as it usually is when you're looking up in a light polluted sky. So you would have to adjust and filter out some of the dimmer stars. Probably not as many stars as there, but there were quite more stars that night.
Yes, Steve, if I may
Yes.
interrupt again,
Yes.
Orion has a heck of a lot of really great double stars. So those of you who want to take your telescope out and take a look at them, that's a really good place to be looking.
Okay. Well, I didn't go into details on the double stars, but you are correct. There's a lot to see in there, and you can use Orion as a pointer to other things. And instead of my saying it, I have somebody else. I have a little video to play. So let me go ahead and start this video.
Hi, this is Marcy with Earth Sky. Orion the Hunter is one of the most recognizable constellations in the night sky. At least part of it is visible from anywhere on the globe. Orion can be used as a sky key. It can guide you to other stars and constellations, making it a great starting point for stargazing. First, look for Orion's belt. It's a distinct line of 3 moderately bright stars close together in the sky. If you draw an imaginary line through Orion's belt, it will point directly to Sirius, the brightest star in the night sky. Sirius is part of the constellation Canis Major, the Greater Dog, which is prominent in northern winter, southern summer evenings, and follows Orion across the sky. Next, drawing a line through Orion's belt in the opposite direction will lead you to Aldebaran, the fiery eye of Taurus the Bull. Extend that line further to reach the Pleiades, a beautiful cluster of stars. Taurus the Bull contains both Aldebaran and the Pleiades, making it an interesting constellation to explore. The Pleiades star cluster is a stunning sight, and it is visible to the unaided eye. Check it out in binoculars. You'll see why it's a favorite among stargazers. Then draw a line from the Botanistern star Saiph of Orion and the eastern star of Orion's belt to find the bright star Capella. Capella is the brightest star in Auriga, the charioteer. It contains several bright stars and a few nice open star clusters, easily visible in binoculars. The brightish red star to the upper left of Orion is Betelgeuse, probably the most famous star in Orion. Drawing a line through the outer western star of Orion's belt and Betelgeuse will point to Pollux and Castor, the twin stars of Gemini. Gemini the Twins is a prominent constellation with Pollux and Castor as its brightest stars. The bright star next to Betelgeuse is Bellatrix. A line through Bellatrix to Betelgeuse points to Procyon. Procyon is part of Canis Minor, the Lesser Dog. It's a small constellation, but Procyon is one of our brightest stars and always rises before Sirius. Finally, look for 3 stars below Orion's belt. Does that center star look fuzzy to you? That's the Orion Nebula, or M42, where stars are being born, and you can see it with your unaided eye.
Okay.
Whose voice was that? Marcy.
Marcy from. So I just took some screenshots of that and I put that up in there. The link to the video, if you wanted to hear it again, will be in the PDF that I put up. So here's, again, just highlighting what you just read, so you can use that as a reference if you're not familiar with it. So we also have some other objects in the sky. I'm giving right now is more links to some interesting websites that you might want to visit. In the sky data comets. So if you wanted to see, and there's a whole, again, we can, if you click on that, where did it go? I guess they didn't go anywhere. All right. Yeah, if you wanted to click on that, you can take that, and then also in the sky, setting, rising and setting suns, and you can pick the date that you, if you wanted to get some details on which planets will be visible on that day. That's one of the references that I go to. And again, the links will be provided there. Again, February 24th, 5th, Mercury and Saturn. Again, I like to iterate. So I've given a different couple of charts showing you how close to the horizon they will be on that date and the relative magnitudes of each. And here's a little chart I always like showing. If you ever wondered how they came up with the degrees between objects, you can actually put it in the right section, the declination of any two objects, and it will calculate the distance for you. And if you fail to bring a sextant with you, you can always hold your hand up and you can determine roughly the number of degrees by using your fingers, and so that's, again, that's always something I like to show people. And you always, hopefully, and not to offend anybody that may not be that have lost both their hands, but if you have at least one hand, you should be able to do that. I haven't heard about it. Sorry. I wasn't bringing up the toes. Again, other charts that you might want to download here, courtesy of Night Sky Network, free charts that you can download and print out and take with you. And if you do have a stargazing pass, this is all you would need to go and show them this and say, here, I can go use my stargazing pass, because they're getting they want to make sure that you're not just using the pass to do whatever you wanted to do there. You can at least pretend you have a need to go see the stars at the beach. So you bring something like that, and that should be enough, as long as you show some interest. Another page you can download, again, from the Night Sky Network, is a list of all the different objects and their classifications, whether they're binoculars, naked eye, or Messier, and there's a couple of pages of that you can download. And I found this site, Sky Maps, is again another site where you can download and print out, and they give you some suggestions as to what to go view. And as I always like to close with, leave you with this little warning.
Bring you a warning. Every one of you listening to my voice, tell the world, tell this to everybody wherever they are. Watch the skies everywhere. Keep looking. Keep watching the skies.